Good evening, followers, friends, and everybody of Relations to 101, hosted by yours truly, the ugly one, James Mitchell. Yes, I am your host of 101, James Mitchell, and thank you for watching me. Whether you're watching me live or if you're watching me recorded, I enjoy that you're watching me. That's a little creepy. Anyway, as you all know, I love the hearts, I love the lights, I love the wild faces, I love the laughing face. Thank you for going ahead and watching. Please tell me where you're watching from. You know this is an open forum, and I love talking back to every one of you. Now, that being said, go ahead and check out YouTube as well, because you know the ugly one's there as well. We already have a bunch of episodes on there that you probably have already seen here. But share away. Tell everybody. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get this busy. All right, so first off, I want to go ahead and bring up my opening statements. I want to talk about a couple of things, get them out of the way. Maybe these are topics that we can go back and talk about later this evening. By the way, I want to also let you all know I have a whopping 500 followers on last week's episode. That is amazing. That was an absolutely great episode. We did 2 hours of that, and I cannot wait to see what we do this evening. First off, I want to take a very solemn moment, and I want to say that my prayers and my well wishes are with those of the survivors and the families that are mourning of the University of North Carolina right now. As many of you probably did not hear, I was shocked to find out myself, and trust me, I listen to the news a lot. There was a shooting at the University of North Carolina, and 2 people have lost their lives. So with that, I do wish for best wishes that way. I do apologize that that has happened. This is once again a mentally disturbed person who did purchase a weapon legally and used it for the wrong reasons. The person was stopped by the campus police and is now currently in custody. There is no motive to reason why they did what they did. On that note, let's move on. All right, as many people know, Michael Lang, producer and organizer of the one and only Woodstock. The Woodstock Festival is coming up on its golden anniversary. That is 50 years, everybody. The big 50. That is absolutely amazing to think that now 50 years ago was Woodstock. Now, if anybody knows anything about Woodstock, then I don't have to tell you. If you don't know what Woodstock is, you got a computer, you got a phone, you're watching me. Take a second to go ahead and take a look up at it. It was one of the greatest festivals of music that this country, this world has ever seen, next to Live Aid. Now, there's a difference between Live Aid and Woodstock. Live Aid was a fundraiser. This one, not so sure. So we got to find out, what is Michael Lang up to? He says they are not stopping, though the funders have go ahead and pulled all the money out of Woodstock. Now, he was going to be doing Woodstock up in Watkins Glen. And being that he was going to do that in Watkins Glen, New York, and not Bethel Woods, where the original Woodstock was, posed a lot of problems for a lot of people. Especially when your top leading acts were people like Miley Cyrus, Jay-Z, and Chance the Rapper. Look, nothing against these people, but they're not really my cup of tea. And it seems to be not the cup of tea of the people who were funding and most of the people that were looking to buy tickets, because guess what? The tickets didn't go soaring off the shelves. They were kind of just stagnant there. Now, there were a couple of people that were originally at the original Woodstock going to be at this festival, but seem to now be going to the anniversary that is at the original site of Woodstock. They're in Bethel, New York. Now, as what that a wonderful, absolutely amazing idea, this person right here, the ugly one, thinks that they could go ahead and solve this issue very easily. If I was going to go ahead and do Woodstock, I would do it in one way only. How about 4 days? And in those 4 days, I would go ahead and make sure that there was at least one performer of every genre category there is of music. Go ahead and make sure that these are the top artists of that brand and get them at this festival. I would also go ahead and have the tents just like the original festival did. By doing that, you would go ahead and go and relive and bring back the reason why Woodstock was originally there in the first place 50 years ago. It was all about love, camaraderie, and music. Now, that also being said, I think that the perfect way to go ahead and start the festival would be a hologram of the one and only, may he rest in peace, truly, Jimi Hendrix, and no less have it be the national anthem. But we wouldn't have Woodstock if we didn't have maybe a hologram of Janis Joplin. Go ahead and get that done, and I think the perfect person to end the festival would be the one and only Carlos Santana. But you can't just stop there. How about we end up putting some of the people that would be retiring this year from music? Elton John, maybe Billy Joel, or how about Peter Frampton? Hey, there's a lot of these acts that are still out there that are singing and are getting ready to retire that were around the time of Woodstock. Hey, I see that we could go ahead and get Frankie Valli available with the Four Seasons and bring them on up there as well. I'll tell you what, that would be the perfect, and I mean perfect, way to do the Woodstock Festival. Not drugs and sex. Oh, come on. There's a little bit more than just that. So now that I have learned that Carlos Santana will be picking up some of the festival dates that are already for the original Bethel Woods 50th golden anniversary party or festival that they're doing. But I think that if they're listening, it's a great way to go ahead and get some extra tickets sold by doing what I said. But hey, don't have to take my word for it. Also, going ahead on topic, we can go to the next spot. How about William Barr, Attorney General William Barr, who is currently just down on the Senate floor or the judicial community. They were going ahead and talking to him and interrogating him. And it seemed to be that they really have a problem with Mr. Barr. Now, remember, he is now the current Attorney General. This is not the first time that he's been in this position. It's not the first time that he's actually been in politics or in the floor. So now Mr. Barr has been being grilled about the Mueller report, once again being thrown to the wolves when he just got the job. Now, certain people think that he should go ahead and leave, and America deserves a better attorney general. But if he's already the best in the second time going at the job, I think he's already what America deserves. That also being said, there is nothing like hearing that Patrick Leahy, Democrat of Vermont, saying that he's accusing William Barr of purposely misleading answers. Like the Democrats haven't done that their entire career, especially when it comes to voting. I smell a Hillary, Bernie Sanders from 2015, 2016. That don't smell right. How about one other? We have the one and only presidential candidate for the Democrats right now, a Democrat representative out of the one and only California, going ahead and saying that she thinks that, oh yes, she is running for president, asked who should be investigated, and did the White House point them in the direction that they should be investigating? Like the White House of the previous administration didn't do that already and go ahead and point them to the way of Donald Trump illegally. Let's see here, Dems. You want to go ahead and point the finger, but once it comes running right back to you and pointing in your direction, what will you do? Lie and do some fake news more? Hey, speaking of fake news, how about that CNN? CNN decided to turn around and put a post up about Dana Carvey doing a skit or a satire piece of one of the new Trump candidate members there. And they went ahead and, well, this was actually on the Stephen Colbert show, saying it was on SNL. Excuse me, but SNL might be on the same channel. Oh, wait, it's not. Because Stephen Colbert happens to be on CBS, not on NBC. NBC, where SNL actually has been on for many years. I think approximately we're near the 40-year range that's been running, maybe even 50 itself. So I think CNN is just proving to the fact that they are the leaders of fake news. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate that you went ahead and listened to all that and had to deal with that for the first 10 minutes of the show. But, you know, as usual, I find these topics very interesting, and I like to talk about them. And I know quite a few of you are on. I want to say hello to a couple of you that I can see already. Christina Barnes, Jenny Adams, and Mr. Fairweather there. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Now, this all being said and done, I wonder, what does anybody else have out there? What is anybody else thinking about? What are the topics that you guys are feeling are the most important currently right now at this junction? Remember, we've had a lot going on, and as you know, I currently wasn't able to get on as I like to as much. I had a lot going on myself. My son, once again, lost another tooth. Now he's missing the first two bottom ones, and Tooth Fairy had to come again. That's making my pocket broke. Speaking of Tooth Fairies, what do you guys do when it comes to the Tooth Fairy? Do you leave money? Do you leave a gift card? Do you go ahead and just get the child a new video game or a tablet? What is it you usually do? That's an interesting topic, and I would like to go ahead and see what you guys think. Now, on top of that, I also want to go ahead and say thank you very much to everybody that's been watching and following me so far from the beginning. It's great to see that so many of you care exactly what I have to say. And not in the sense that you actually care, but you want to go ahead and show support of what I've been doing. I appreciate it in every way, shape, and form. Now, with that also being said, I've been looking at some of the other things that have been going on, and currently you'll see that a video that I posted that Joe Biden, who has announced that he is now running for the presidential candidacy there for 2020. Joe Biden, as also we known as the Bumbling Buffoon, Bumbling Joe, Sleepy Joe, Roman Hands Joe. He's got quite a few different nicknames there. But I'll tell you right now, there is definitely one thing that he's doing, and that's sleeping on the job. Or should I say, sleeping, period. Because if he was awake, he would know that the one thing he does not want to attack anybody on right now is the economy. Sitting there turning around and saying that us middle-class folks, and yes, I say us, I'm there with you guys, saying that we're not feeling the effects in any way, shape, or form. What have we seen? Well, Mr. Joe Biden, I would be happy to go ahead and explain. I hope you're watching, and if not, I hope somebody of your new, should I say, committee for your presidential race is watching for you. See, you decided to turn around and say something extremely arrogant and stupid. You decided to turn around and say that the economy is not up and rising, but even fake news CNN has to admit that the economy has been on a boom and a rise. What does that mean? Stock markets are up. And if stock markets are up, guess what? The middle class feels it, especially if they have retirement plans, whether it be 401k or something else. And most of those happen to be in stocks. And with the stocks going up, that means that our retirement plans are booming. And that means we're seeing the effects. So, Mr. Joe Biden, I would be sure to pay attention a little more and be awoke. Because let me tell you, the last thing you want to do is make another bumbling Joe mistake. Speaking of the mistakes, middle class, we are seeing it. Whether if you notice that the new tax cuts from the Trump administration actually puts a couple more dollars every week into your check. So you're seeing it long term instead of short term, one cash check directly in your hands, which in that case means that you would just go ahead and spend it and not even realize that it was ever there. So long term wise, you're actually seeing an extra $9, $10, $15, $20 in your check every week. But see, at the same time, if you live in states like mine, good old New York, they go ahead and make sure there's a way for you to lose that money by going ahead and taxing the corporations that we work for at a higher amount. That also meaning they raise the state taxes on the income that you're bringing in. So they tax you for all that money you're missing. So even though you're losing the money, thanks to good old New York State, you still are seeing it and you're feeling the effects. The money is there. Not to mention, he also raised the increased value of having a child, so your tax income credit is raised as well. It went from the standard original $1,800 up to as far as $2,200, especially here in New York State. That also being said, interesting side fact about New York State, do you know over the last year we lost 68,000 people to Florida? 68,000 people decided to move out of this Empire State and went to the Sunshine State instead. What does that mean for us? It shows you that this state is not doing all it's cracked up to be. because the return value from people moving from Florida to New York was in the low 20,000 ratio, still meaning that we lost 40,000 people to Florida. What's that tell you? But once again, we also don't know what else the other states we lost to. We could have lost plenty of people, which I know for a fact. Move on out to Tennessee, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, maybe even some to the Dakotas, Texas, and California. Now, why would anybody move to California when their taxes are a lot worse than mine? I don't know. But hey, that's everybody. To each their own. So currently go ahead and saying again, which some more of the people that have been popping on, we got a lot of people coming in. I want to say hello to Carol Pomales and Deb Trips. Deb, how you doing, my friend? I haven't seen you in a long time. Yes, that's another thing, people. It is an open forum. You can talk to me all you want. Ask me any question you want. You want to answer it, I'll do my best, even if I have to fact check myself right now. That's what's great about the 101, because I give 101%, and I know you do as well. So anybody else have anything else, you can go ahead and let me know, or I'll just go ahead and keep on moving through. So currently, right now to the next topic, we were talking about people moving out and looking for safer and easier taxes. Well, here's the other thing, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. In normal economics, the best way for us to go ahead and get better tax reform is to go ahead and give the cuts to the upper class. Now, the cuts do have to go across the board, don't get me wrong. Middle class and the lower class need to see some type of effect of an actual check coming to them with check cuts. Now, here's the thing. If you give it to the upper class and they have an easier tax break, guess what? They spend more money. If they spend more money and you go ahead and put that money back into the workers, they'll be happy and work for you. That's one way for the upper class to help us out. Another way is when they go ahead and buy their luxury vehicles, homes, and anything else. If you really look into it, the best way for somebody to go ahead and create more jobs is like a corporation like Amazon. Amazon was going to go ahead and go into the beautiful borough of Queens down in New York City. And what were they going to go ahead and do down there? Open a factory/warehouse. It was going to create approximately 25,000 jobs. That was because of the tax cuts that they were going to get not only from the federal government, but the state government. So by that happening, they were going to create 25,000 jobs, which would have created 25,000 new tax incomes. That is another way that you go ahead and do this, America. See, with 25,000 more jobs created and 25,000 more taxes being brought into the current local area, you would have been able to go ahead and take that revenue and put it back in the areas that you've already given the tax breaks to. Now we're thinking. At the same time, those 25,000 people will go ahead and buy food. You're going to create more jobs for the farmers because they're going to need to grow more food to go ahead and supply those working, hungry people. At the same time, now you've created more job hands that are going to go ahead and be on farmland. Now, if we could think maybe approximately another 1,000 to 1,500 jobs just for the local farmlands. So now just instead of 25,000 jobs being created by one place, you now have 26,500. If you're following me, and I know I'm going a little fast and I'm rambling a little fast, just wait until we get to the end. So by that state, we've already now created 26,500 jobs. Now, if you go ahead and take those farm hands who now have a job and have more tax revenue, guess what? The state now has more money back in its pocket. Didn't lose anything yet, did they? Now, with that 1,500 jobs that were created by the farm, they got to go ahead and eat. So now another farmer goes ahead and creates another 500 jobs. Now, there we go. We have already gone up to 27,000 jobs. Now, each one of those people only just created that just by working. They need to eat. But here's the next thing. They're going to start working. They're going to start saving their money. So what's the next thing they're going to need? How about cars? Why don't we go ahead and go buy a car with that new income that we have coming in? Well, now to go ahead and for the assembly line, making the cars and making sure that they're working and going through, you just created another 1,500 jobs. So another 1,500 jobs, you are now at 28,500 jobs just by one warehouse being open. That's even more tax revenue. There you go. How about that? See, this is basic economics 101. Now, if you go ahead and you do that, you can go ahead and create jobs by Having car salesmen. Car salesmen are going to go ahead and make the sales to the jobs of those cars. And now we have more food on the table and more jobs being made. So now approximately close to, let's say, 28,000. So now we're close to 28,000 jobs. Now, if we go ahead and do this, we could go ahead and talk about road workers. Those new cars are going to be on the road and they're going to need those potholes fixed. So we go ahead and create more jobs that way. Now also, we are now putting more food on the table. We're going ahead and buying cars. We're fixing roads. We're approximately now close to maybe 29,000 jobs have now been created by this one warehouse. Now, what else can we do? But how about now that all those jobs are going through, we have the tax cuts, the corporations decide to buy more jets, more boats, more cars, everything else, and it's going to need materials to make those things, maybe metal, copper, fabric, and as well as fuel and other things. Guess what? We break it all down to all these people that got to make these things, turn it into electricians, mechanics, you name it. It's happening, carpenters and everything else. Guess what? We're in the proximity of close to 33,000 to 34,000 jobs, all created by one warehouse. This is basic economics. When you cut the taxes in one area, it all trickles down. And at the same time, then the government doesn't need to go ahead and raise your current taxes. They can lower them and raise the value of the dollar, meaning they don't have to raise the minimum wage. See, when you raise minimum wage to $15 an hour, you now have to go ahead and work for 1 hour. That means the burger is going to be $17. $15 to cover that 1 hour, $3 to cover the rest of the product, and start kicking back some of that profit to the company that created the burger. Now, here's the thing. If the one person can go ahead and make 50 burgers in that 1 hour at $15 an hour, you guessed it, they not only covered the one person for the 1 hour, they covered all the bills, all the profit of making all those burgers, and now they're in the pure green. So you don't need to raise the minimum wage of $15 an hour to do that. If you go ahead and make the extra jobs that are out there in the area and the tax write-offs on those people and all the taxable income coming in on those people, guess what? They're going to get hungry and they're going to come in and they're going to buy the burgers. That's where the 50 burgers were made in the first place. So, once again, it's simple economics. Create the jobs, make the jobs available, and there you go. You have taxable income and all trickles down and spreads out like a spider web. It's simple, it's easy, it's common sense. So, being that we've already talked about that, at that point, what do you need to do next? Well, not much, people. Watch it grow, because that one warehouse is going to bring another warehouse, which will bring another warehouse. Not to mention the products that have to be stored in those warehouses. Not to mention that the products that are being stored in the warehouse are being created by somebody, so more jobs are being made. That's the way it's done. But see, the socialistic economy that we are trying to put in power by certain people, Democrats, the Democrats are being too one-sided. They're not realizing the real reason why they have the money in their pockets. They are truly the real fat cats of America. They are so greedy that they want to go ahead and get paid more money than any other person on this planet. They actually think they have the right to tax us for our money and make us work even harder for the money and make us work even harder to try and live. That's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way the founding fathers saw it, and that's not the way our true Lord and Savior Jesus Christ saw it. Now, yes, I turned around and said that. You don't like it, too bad. Get triggered. Fight me about it later. Now, with that all happening and that all being said out of one breath, what does that tell you? When simple-minded people like ourselves, that's alluding to what the government thinks that we are, realizes the problem, we start to unite and fight back. They get threatened. What was the fight back that Middle America thought of back in 2016? Why, the one and only Donald Trump. Now, that being said, not everybody is extremely happy with Mr. Trump, or should I say President Trump. But you know what? It is what it is. It's the result of what the oppression has been given. See, the left doesn't see they're wrong. They think that they are going to be better than Russia, Cuba, China, or any of them because we are America. They forget the fundamentals of America. They forget what America truly is. They forget what the spirit is. See, that's very dangerous to go ahead and do. If you forget what America is, you're bound to have a revolution. You're bound to have another civil war. You're bound to see people walk out when you don't take care of them. Now, that being said, the same thing can be happening at any kind of job. When you go ahead and taxing the corporations too much, that will go ahead and trickle back down. When you do that, you have angry workers because, of course, corporations only usually think about themselves, right? Well, if they had the time to think about the everyday human being that they are employing and not worrying about their overhead and everything that's going on and putting more money in their pockets, well, I think everything would work out fine and dandy. See, the thing is, when you have a happy worker, it runs the same philosophy as when you're married. A happy wife is a happy life. Happy workers work harder. That's it. So if you go ahead and go and look into that outlook and that aspect of life, it seems to be very easy of what you have to do. Nobody? Make you happy. Now, what are some of the things that make you happy? It could be about work. It could be about life. It could be outside of work. It could be about your home life. It could be anything. The things that make you happy and truly want to be part of what you are or what you're in is the main aspects of what makes us thrive. Follow? Hope I'm not going too fast for you people. So all I have to say right now is currently what we're looking at is a oppressing, I want to say dictatorship, but they don't have just one leader that they're following. Kamala Harris, Susan Warren, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden. Yes, I'm going to be extremely one-sided on this. I don't care. You don't like it? You can click me off. But see, the thing is you're watching me because you know what I'm saying happens to be true. Now, that also being said, not everything is always greener on the GOP side. But right now you have to know that what is actually happening and understand it. When you go ahead and educate yourself and see what is going on in front of you, you get the truth. Remember, when it comes to the truth is very tricky. Now, what do I mean by the truth is very tricky? See, everybody knows the truth happens to be exactly like a coin. See, now we're looking at a coin as it has two sides. One side we call heads, the other side we call tails. Well, it's the same about truth. Everybody has a form of truth. You have your side and I'll have mine. But the problem is when you mash them together, you actually happen to see the middle. Now, the middle happens to be what the actual truth is, okay? Somewhere we forgot. Somewhere along the lines, we were blindsided. Somewhere along the lines, we allowed fake to be real. Now, that also being said, so much going on with everything there. It makes one wonder, why and where did we lose track? If a simple person, and I do consider myself sometimes simple, and I don't mean minded either, with that being the case, I do find myself to have a simple life, a simple philosophy on many things. Why did I lose track? Why did I lose sight? Where did I lose track and where did I lose sight? See, that's the whole thing. You got to continuously educate yourself. If you go ahead and educate yourself, you learn something new. You learn something new every day. It shows that you're still a human being. See, this is the greatest master computer that will ever be put on this planet, the brain. There is so much about the brain that we don't understand that we can't recreate one, but we can recreate a computer that tells you a computer can stop and be flawed. Much like our brains, if you put a bullet in our brain, it stops working. If you pull the plug on a computer, it will stop working. Don't pull your plug. Don't take what you hear and see for granted. Make sure you go ahead and see more about life. I'll tell you one thing, for instance. We have a young lady who currently watching us who has a side business. She happens to sell CBD oil. Everybody happens to think the CBD oil is something bad for you, but in retrospect, it's just as good for you as ibuprofen. That being said, if it's just as good for me as ibuprofen, why do I fear it? The reason is because that CBD is actually found in a compound that we call weed. So we automatically think that weed makes you high and gives you the munchies. Not true. There's a special chemical inside the weed that is called THC. That is what makes you high and gives you the munchies. If you take away the calming relaxation and the pain relieving element that's inside of it, CBD, you have a new healing attribute. Should somebody tell me that hemp oil is actually good for me all this time? Yeah. Because just like when ibuprofen originally came out, it was scary and people didn't know what to think of it. Think about aspirin. Aspirin was the same thing, and come to find out aspirin would actually help take care of gangrene. So then people that were having things infected, back like in the Revolutionary War and Civil War, would have to have them chopped off. Those body parts would be chopped off. But a better way to save that was by using new medical advances in technology. These medical advances do a lot for us. But see, here's the thing. Now people are starting to fear medical technology because they put so many chemical elements inside of something that they're now starting to no longer vaccinate. What happens if you don't vaccinate? You once again spread the disease you're supposed to be vaccinating against. Does anybody know what disease is currently out there right now that people are deciding not to vaccinate against and is making a popular comeback and starting to make people very ill and also, I think, killing? The measles! That's correct. See now. Here we go again. We talked about this on one of the other episodes previously, that we need to vaccinate against certain diseases. Yes, it might be harmful to you in the brain overthinking things by going through Wikipedia and WebMD, but it is actually better to understand and trust the doctor's opinion when they tell you this. They've been using this now as a tried and true pure formula for many years. That being said, why go against it? So when you go against vaccinations, you go ahead and put yourself open for diseases. See, this is also the same thing that we're having problem with when we're looking at HIV, AIDS, cancer, hepatitis, and many more. See, the measles outbreak is not funny. People only just starting to realize that they got to go ahead and get themselves vaccinated. Mark, how are you? Matthew, nice to see you. Nice to see you, Shelby. Nice to see you, Jessica. See, when you go ahead and you open that door, you also open that door for other people that didn't want that door open. At that sense, is it smart to not vaccinate? It's smart to stay away from CBD oil. It's smart to stay away from ibuprofen. Yes, we know currently right now that Percocets or oxycodone or Vicodin and other narcotic pain relieving medicines like that are scary and addicting. So we ask for a alternative. Now that we have the alternative, people are afraid of it because what the derivative of the product originally was. But remember, if you eliminate the one element of that product and get the other and find out that it's not harmful and doesn't make the high and can't be addicting, why are we fighting it? The same reason back to why we're fighting politics, why people are so easily amused to the socialistic order of the Democratic Party. See, what seems safe and sensible is not always the case. That gets extremely scary because when you had one Karl Marx sit there and tell you that the way of life that would be simpler and easier was the way of the Communistic Party, and socialism ended up to be the greatest mistake that a country had ever made. They had the chance to be an entire competing superpower, but they fell and crumbled. They have bread lines and soup lines. If you're not careful, we will repeat. But see, that also being said, if anybody ever wants to let that happen, there will always be people that are against that from happening. Now, I know many who have already pledged to the fact that they won't let that happen, but if you do not educate yourself, you will be doomed to let it happen. Now, here's the other thing. By letting that happen, you've already let the other side win. But don't take my word for it. Take our presidents.
We renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country.
Now, I agree 100%, and I fight against that. I want the right to choose what medicine that we use. I want the right to go ahead and make sure we have the proper health care, the proper taxes, and the proper wages, not to mention a flowing free economy. That's what basically this episode has turned out to be about. And though I didn't initially want it that way, and I never really initially wanted to go full politics, with the leading events that we've seen today, it has but no choice. When you have comments from potential candidates for presidency out there screaming that they go by the word of fake news, aka CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, but leading CNN, you're bound to believe the wrong thing and continue to spread the wrong thing. We need to start listening to ourselves and not always the media. See, there's a reason why Rush Limbaugh calls the media the drive-by media. The drive-by media will come out, spit a whole bunch of spewing lines, and drive off. They won't care about that topic anymore. They'll come back at you and shoot it again and drive back off. That's the way that media works. Is there a true, fair, and balanced media? This host doesn't currently believe so. Yes, do I watch Fox News? Doesn't mean I believe everything Fox News says. See, not everybody will have the time or want to spend the time and waste the time to listen to both sides or do the research themselves. But by doing so, you're educating yourself and learning your new life lesson of the day, and learning something new is strong. Because if not, we are doomed to be an idiocracy. Now, what does idiocracy mean? Well, let me tell you, go watch the movie. When you sit there and you turn around and say that everything needs electrolytes and electrolytes are good and it's what everything needs, my friends, believe it or not, we are doomed and on our way for that. When you turn around and sit there and constantly hear about these shootings, and I don't wish to go there, but you constantly hear about these shootings, and then you have people trying to oppress our rights and say that it's time to take away our weapons or more control instead of actually facing the issues at hand, it's because they're not educating themselves. They're just listening to this regular Kool-Aid drinking rhetoric that is done by one-sided party members. Now, that also being said, it's not always good for us to have that. If this continues to happen the way it is, we are doomed to have that socialistic nation. And this host here does not want to see that. As I said, and I quote, I personally will never make sure that happens. I will always fight against it. And so will.
We renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country.
Now, that little sound bit is brought to us by our one and only President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Now, why do I stand by that over everything else that he has said? Well, if you don't believe me and understand the reason why I follow that as truthfully as I do, please go back and watch the previous episodes. You can, again, watch them on YouTube or even on this page. See, it's time that we go ahead and figure out what we really need to do and want. And the only way by doing that is by education. But a non-flowing free economy is not the answer. We need the checks and balances, correct. We need to go ahead and make sure the supply and demand is there, correct. What we don't need is a shit ton of taxes, jumped up, gargled, bubble gut wages for no reason, influx of friggin' inflation on money to no end. That is the stuff we don't need. And what doesn't help is sports. See, here's the thing. I love sitting back and watching a baseball game. Hey, how about those Yankees right now? I think we're currently a game behind, and no less, game behind Tampa Bay, not even the Boston Red Sox. Take that, Boston. Now, how about the Mets, who are, if I'm not mistaken, currently 2.5 games behind? And how about this? It's not Washington that they're behind. They're actually behind them by another game. Now, what do I mean by the sports are no help to this? See, everybody has talked about this before. It has become over and over tiring subject, whether it's about kneeling or it's about pushing their views or whatever else. Here's the thing. I still stand by this, and I'll stand by this to this day. Playing sports is very dangerous. Yes, you can get injured, but there is no reason for somebody to be being paid roughly close to $9 million for a 2-year contract for playing ball, but a person who is serving our military going against these insurgents that have suicide bombs hidden, IEDs, or going ahead and shooting at them, trying to stab them, kill them in any way, shape, or form, is only making close to $20,000. Does anybody see something wrong with that? That the men and women in uniform that are protecting this country is getting paid less than the men and women in uniform to entertain us. Better yet, the same people we're paying to entertain us decides to tell us how we should be living our lives. If it wasn't for us paying to watch them, they wouldn't have the life that they have. Better yet, they wouldn't have the right to sit there and tell us, how we should run our lives if it wasn't for the men and women in uniform protecting our country and making sure that our Constitution is held to the right of law. Now, let's think about that for a second. That also means that those same men and women fought for the right for somebody to kneel during the national anthem. They also fought for me for the right to go ahead and bitch about that person kneeling during the national anthem as well. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is pure economics. See, when this happens, it shakes the entire tree. When you shake the entire tree, it stops branching out, but only grows up and straight. You understand? Does anybody follow me on this? Or have I lost you all already? Basically, at this rate, what I'm trying to say is that the sports side of fun and entertainment, or movies, or television, or theater, or video games, don't necessarily have the right to tell us how we should, but do. But most of all, don't have a right to choose a political side against us. That's right. That's where the fair and balance should naturally be. Same with the news media. The media needs to know to report only facts. They lost their way years ago. My friends, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else we can do. We need to spread this. We need to tell everybody what's right and what's wrong by educating them. We don't holler at them. We don't scream at them. We don't fight them. We don't spit in their face while we're getting angry. We don't sit there and cry when somebody doesn't win something. We don't sit there and cry because I'm triggered. I can't believe he did that. I need a safe place, including my coloring books and my crayons. Ah! It's time to stop being coddled and grow up. See, when we look at it this way, we actually know that at one point or another, we have gone too far. Who do we actually have to blame but ourselves? We have the right as parents to unplug our children. We have the right to make sure they don't watch something we don't think they should be watching. But in the same sense, we have the right to turn around and tell our children why. And we must tell them why. We must educate them, because if we don't educate them, then we are going to just keep going in this circle round and round. It's kind of like the philosophy that racism is not something that is automatic, but it's something that is learned and taught. See, I kind of agree with that statement purely by the fact that I can sit there and watch children who are of toddler age sit there and play with another person or gender without discriminating against them of what they look like or sound like. So basically, we can learn from children? We've only been talking about this for years, people. But at the same time, what else can we learn from? Books, history, news of the past, not always of the future or current state of rate that it's going. And when I also say news, I mean real news. Not that Bubba got a new car and it smells like cherries. That's not news. Also, what's not news is fake rhetoric of saying that somebody that's a comedian is doing a new skit on a show that's not even on the same channel that they're on a completely different show about. It's also like the same thing as taking somebody's words out of context and saying that they said something that they really didn't. or taken something that they said that is actually a troll or a joke and believing it for truth of 100%. Social media probably also doesn't help all that much anymore either, and we've all gotten a little too reliant on it. Yes, I would have to agree 100%. Watching other people and not do stupid things they do. See, if you watch Jimmy go walking into a wall, are you going to go ahead and walk into the wall right after him? Or are you going to understand, hey, I need to watch where I'm walking and not walk into the wall? It's the same thing your mother used to say to you. If your friends were down on the Brooklyn Bridge and decided to jump off the bridge, would you as well? Would you jump off that bridge? I don't know. Does it mean I'm not going to get spanked for coming in late, Mommy? Look, that's a joke. But the same thing is we don't really go following our friends and jumping off the bridge, do we? We also don't always do everything that we're told to do. Now, the biggest thing I would have to say is it's all about leadership. It's better to lead than to follow. Not everybody is built for that. Understood. But the greatest leaders we'll ever see are the ones that go ahead and bring us into this world. That's right. Our parents are the best leaders we could ask at any time. Now, I know I've kind of gone a little off topic and around and bounced around and come back full circle. I usually do that. Anybody that knows me knows I'm capable of this. But at the same time, we need to have this repeated. We need this to be drilled in our heads. I tell you guys almost week in and week out, the best way to change what's going on is to start on the local level. The best way to make sure that we have better, competitiveness is to make sure that you shop local. The best way to make sure that the illnesses aren't spreading is to get vaccinated. Do your homework. If you don't like what your doctor says, there's something called a second opinion. If you're told not to go in the red zone, don't go in the red zone. Listen. If you see Tommy go through the red zone, try and warn him. If you see his head get knocked off because he went into the red zone when he wasn't supposed to, don't go following. We can't always just listen to one thing. Now, I say that, and that could actually hamper me and make me lose viewers or followers. I don't want that. I want you all to continue to listen to me and watch me, but not take what I say as the God's honest 100% law. I didn't say truth. I said law. See, I'm just trying to educate you guys and help you guys make the better judgment and decisions. Just because I feel that that's the right way doesn't mean it is for everybody. But these are the morals and the fundamentals that we originally were raised on. It's the same stuff if we rely on and go back from the beginning, always helps us to get to where we want to go so much faster. Believe it or not, it's true. So, what have we learned today? Was it useful? Was it what you really needed to hear? Sometimes what you really need to hear is, don't worry, you got this, kid, keep going. Sometimes you just need to hear that you have friends that are on your side. Sometimes those friends are family. Sometimes those family are the closest and best friends. See, part of my closing statement as I wrap up this evening, I would turn around and say, if your parents are still around, say thank you. Tell them how much you cherish them. Let them know that if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't even have the chance. You wouldn't even have the chance to have life, whether it's good or it's bad. You wouldn't have been able to know either way if it wasn't for them. Why do I say this? Why is it so important to go ahead and make sure that our parents know that we are thankful for everything that they did for us? Because that's starting from the beginning. Sometimes it's the only thing you can do. Sometimes it eases the pain. You know, Carol, that is perfect. I actually was going to go there as well. Even if they're not around, still say thank you to them from your heart. That is a quote from Ms. Pomalis there. And you can. Because remember, 50% of your mom and 50% of your dad makes 100% you. So if you hate them, you hate yourself. And you don't want to hate yourself. Because then you'll be stuck in the tracks. And it'll be hard to move on. Kick it into all-wheel drive. Make sure it's in four-wheel lock and you get out of the mud. Because the only person that truly holds yourself down or holds you down is you. That being said, the only way to fix it is to look in that mirror. The only way to fix your life around you is to educate. The only way to fix your life around you is to stand up. The only way is you. And remember, there's no better number than one. The one and only one, and always starts with 100, right? 1,000, 1,000,000, 1 billion. Speaking of friends of 1 billion, you all know how much of an Avengers fan, a comic book fan I am. No spoilers, I promise. If you have not seen that movie yet, please go see it. If anybody knows anybody that is currently looking to do any type of comic, whether it be writing or illustrating, please send them my way. I am actually currently doing my own comic books. I would love to help from other people and maybe can even help them join my company. Yes, Valor Comics is real. Valor Comics is strong and should be coming your way by 2020, hopefully without any more hiccups. Now, that also being said, it's not always about me. There's always great, wonderful businesses that are local all over this place. And if you don't know where they are, just ask some of the people that are watching. As I always say, feel free to go ahead and promote your local business on my page because we don't go anywhere unless we think local first. That's where the great competitiveness that we need comes from. It's where the great thriving economics that we need, including this economy, comes from. You need to know that if we start there in the local level, things get better everywhere else. The only people, again, who can fix it are you, me, we. That being said, thank you guys so much, as always, for going ahead and paying attention to me in 101. If you missed this episode, please feel free to watch it from the beginning. Make any comments you want. I will always be paying attention. You can always direct message me if you wish, and always post on the page your own comments and questions. I would be happy to go ahead and pay attention at any time and talk, whether it's just through that way as well. If you have a suggestion for any of the comments, questions, or topics that we could do on future episodes of 101, please feel free to share them. And again, I have the right to feel the way I do, and you have the right the way to feel yours. But remember, nothing beats being in heaven for 1 hour before the devil knows you're dead. I am James Mitchell. Thank you very much for watching 101, hosted by yours truly, the ugly one, James Mitchell. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. God bless, and sleep tight.